recent decline in hospitalizations gives us hope that the number of deaths should start to decrease in the coming weeks. Although we have seen declines in cases and admissions and a recent slowing of deaths, cases remain extraordinarily high, still twice as high as the peak number of cases over the summer. And the continued proliferation of variants that likely have increased transmissibility, that spread more easily, threatens to reverse these recent trends. Based on contact tracing and recent variant cases, not wearing masks and participating in in-person social gatherings have contributed to the variant spread. We must take prevention intervention seriously. Now is not the time to let our guard down. Keep taking steps to protect each other. Wear a mask, maintain social distancing, avoid travel, crowds, and poorly ventilated spaces. And please get vaccinated when is your turn. And this Sunday, remember, whichever team you're rooting for and whichever commercial is your favorite, please watch the Super Bowl safely, gathering only virtually or with the people you live with. The CDC recently posted guidance on how to safely enjoy the game. Thank you. I'll turn it to Dr. Fauci.
Thank you very much, Dr. Walensky. I want to make just a couple of points related to questions and issues that have been brought up over the past couple of days to help clarify it. And I'll be very brief. We have heard from studies emanating out of the AstraZeneca platform that in the UK, they're talking about the possibility, since their data seems to show this, that if you prolong the interval between the first and second dose, in fact, even go with a single dose, you can get good results. And in fact, the interval between the first and second dose can now be measured in months with, according to their own data, that is actually a favorable response. We certainly respect that the UK scientists and health officials are going by their data and letting their own data for their own platform dictate their policy. The question is asked often, then why don't we do the same thing with our candidates that are now being distributed to people in the United States? And the response is simple. We also are going very much by the data and the science that has emanated out of very large clinical trials. As you all are aware, the Moderna trial with 30,000 people and the Pfizer trial with 44,000 people indicate to us that maximum responses are given with a prime followed by a boost, 21 days with Pfizer and 28 days with Moderna. Now, we know that sometimes out of circumstances beyond the control of people, that they may not make it at exactly the day of 21 day and 28 day. And as we know from the CDC, under those special circumstances, that it is okay if you get the second dose in either 4 to 6 weeks later. That doesn't mean that we want to do it at 6 weeks later. It means that under special circumstances, it's better to delay that couple of weeks than not do it at all. But we feel strongly that we will go by the science, which is dictated for us the optimal way to get the 94 to 95% response, which is in fact durable for the period of time that we've been following it. One other thing I want to mention, we live in a global community, and it is encouraging to see that other countries are coming out with results from their own vaccine trial, such as the Russian trial that we heard about a day or two ago, the UK and European Union, which are now putting vaccines into people according to the data that they've accumulated, the Chinese trials, et cetera. We in the United States, as I mentioned in a speech I gave a couple of weeks ago to the World Health Organization Executive Board, that we are back on the global scene. We re-entered into our arrangement with the WHO, and we are part of COVAX. So I just want to remind people that this is a global effort. And the more we get the virus controlled globally, and we will be part of that process as part of the global community, the better off we will be. Because I've said it many times, and I'll close by saying it again. We have to be concerned about the mutants. Viruses will not mutate well if you don't give them the opportunity to replicate in a very large way. Namely, if you have an open playing field for the virus, they will replicate and they will mutate. The best way to prevent that is the implementation of the public health measures that Dr. Walensky just mentioned, both home and abroad, as well as the implementation of the administration of vaccines as effectively and efficiently and as quickly as we possibly can. So I'll stop there and hand it back to Jeff.
Well, thank you, Dr. Fauci and Dr. Walensky. You have heard from our experts. I want to reiterate, we are at war with this virus. It is clearly a national emergency, and we are doing all we can. But it is critical that Congress does its part as well. We need Congress to quickly pass the American Rescue Plan to provide the funding we need to continue to scale up our vaccination program, as well as for more testing, more genomic sequencing, and more emergency supplies. And we must give families, schools, businesses, and state and local leaders the support they need to fight the pandemic. This will not be easy. Vaccinating everyone in America is one of the greatest operational challenges we've ever faced. And we will not stop working until this mission is complete. With that, let's take a few questions.
Hey there, for our first question, we'll go to Weijia Jiang at CBS. All right, we'll go to the second question while we figure that out. Second, we will go to Brenda Goodman at WebMD.
Hello.
Oh, Weijia, you're there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. And thank you guys for having this briefing and for taking my questions. I have two, if you don't mind. The first one is about skepticism that remains around the vaccines, which you guys have all acknowledged. And just about 20 minutes ago, a new Monmouth poll shows about 50% of Americans plan to get the vaccine when they can, but 24% say it is likely they will never get it if they can avoid it. So my question is, are there any conditions under which you would recommend requiring a vaccine to access certain places like federal property, schools, or to travel, like if we fail to reach herd immunity after a certain point, or if more variants continue to spread?
Dr. Walensky, do you want to weigh in here?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think it's important to recognize that we have vaccine hesitancy here. We have to address that vaccine hesitancy at its roots and understand why people are hesitant. I do believe that the more people who get this vaccine, we now have over 32 million who've received at least one dose, the more people will realize and recognize that it is being distributed and given safely, and that the side effects really are minimal to minimal really, with very rare risk of events that can be managed. What I would say with regard to requiring, I think we can't sort of be in a place where we're thinking about making requirements for vaccination until we certainly have enough for the entire country to make sure that that's possible. So I would say right now it's premature to think about those requirements. Our goal right now is to vaccinate as many people as we can.
Thank you so much.
Let me see if Dr. Fauci has anything to add there. Dr. Fauci?
No, I agree totally with what Dr. Walensky said, particularly the last part, is that when you're talking about requirements, which we do have for some vaccines, Rochelle and I both are physicians who practice medicine. We don't do it in the hospital unless we get our influenza shot every year. That's because we have plentiful vaccinations available. But it's no time to talk about that now while we still have a great...
All right, everybody, we're going to take a break from the White House Coronavirus Task Force briefing with Dr. Fauci and the CDC Director Walensky there. We'll come back to it if we have time, but we want to bring you some of these live pictures right now. This is out of Spring, Texas, I believe. We've been following this story here on NewsNOW for the better part of the afternoon here. I just want to get you up to speed on it as well. I'm getting up to speed myself. But today, this afternoon, the Texas Department of Public Safety was conducting a traffic stop in the area of I-45 North near Spring, Texas. During that roadside interview, while the male driver and the female passenger were being identified, they fled. The male ran to the vehicle and attempted to flee by reversing his pickup toward a Montgomery County Sheriff's deputy. At that time, the deputy and the DPS trooper responded by discharging their duty pistols in an attempt to stop the threat to the deputy's life. The truck then sped off and has since been located unoccupied near Spring, Texas. We were bringing you those pictures. And there was also an update with law enforcement officials that we aired here just about an hour ago on NewsNOW. The driver of the truck has been identified as Tyler Scott Goodson, a 28-year-old male. He's 6'1", with brown hair, blue eyes. He's currently wanted for 5 warrants, including criminal mischief.
Feel free to yell at them. Put your banner. You guys are trying to be too polite. Put a banner up. Thank you.
So the breaking news out of this right now is that one of the suspects has been caught. The woman has been caught. The male, who I was just describing, is still at large at the moment. And this is the scene that we're watching right now of that apprehension that just took place for that female suspect. This manhunt's now underway, though, for this still one person. His name, Tyler Scott Goodson. He's 28 years old. Authorities said it's unclear if the suspect or the passenger were hit by the gunfire. No officers were injured in the shooting. And as you know, this is all live and raw, so you're just seeing the underbelly of our chopper, which I believe is coming to us from our sister station in Fox near Dallas. So we hope they come back to this. We just want to get you up to speed on some more information. We will follow this story throughout the day here. We will get off this shot for now, but if there are any more updates, we will bring them to you. Remember, this is all live, raw, and unfiltered, so that's why you're seeing that right there. Just to give you an update, just to button this up here, one suspect, the female suspect, has been apprehended. One other suspect, the male suspect, is still on the loose there in Texas after police were conducting a traffic stop, and they both fled. But one of those suspects now in custody. So we'll be updating you throughout the day if we have any more information. We're going to take a quick commercial break here on NewsNOW from Fox. I'm Andrew Kraft. I want to thank everyone for watching. All right, everybody, we're just taking a live look there at the U.S. Capitol Dome. It is 6:30 p.m. on the East Coast, 4:30 here in Phoenix, Arizona Mountain Time. I want to thank everyone for watching us on News Now from Fox. We do want to get to this story that's been breaking all day, really, today out of the country music world. And at the moment, we are following country music star, his name, Morgan Wallen, at the moment, has been suspended from his label after using a racial slur. That suspension is indefinite from his label after a video surfaced of him shouting a racial slur, and radio stations have removed his music from their playlists. Just to give you a sense of the Twitter reaction at the moment, this is CMT saying, after learning of Morgan Wallen's racial slur late last night, we're in the process of removing his appearances from all our platforms. It goes on to say, we do not tolerate or condone words and actions that are in direct opposition to our core values that celebrate diversity, equity, and inclusion. The Academy of Country Music Awards Twitter account issued this statement saying that they will halt Morgan Wallen's potential involvement and eligibility for this year's 56th Academy of Country Music Awards cycle. We have made his management team aware of this decision. The Academy does not condone or support intolerance or behavior that doesn't align with our commitment and dedication to diversity and inclusion. I just want to put up a picture of the country music singer Morgan Wallen here. So this was first published, this video, by TMZ late last night. It showed Wallen outside a home in Nashville, Tennessee, yelling profanities and a racial slur. Wallen, though, did respond today in a statement to TMZ saying he's embarrassed and sorry. Quote, I used an unacceptable and inappropriate racial slur that I wish I could take back. There are no excuses to this type of language ever. I want to sincerely apologize for using the word. I promise to do better, his statement said. And Wallen is really one of the genre's biggest young stars at the moment. His sophomore album, called Dangerous, the double album, is spending its third week atop the Billboard 200 chart, and it has set several streaming records as well. Though a lot of these radio stations that are reacting to this news at the moment, saying they're not going to air Wallen's music, and they're taking him off some of the radio air in and around Nashville. Streaming apps, though, this morning, like Spotify and Apple Music, don't have his songs in their most popular country music playlist, where they normally would be, that he would have multiple songs from his new album on those lists. So some of these songs include Whiskey Glasses and Up Down featuring Florida Georgia Line. So just one of the stories out of Hollywood and country music that we're following at the moment. So we'll bring you more updates when we have it, but we heard from Wallen himself there in that statement saying he regrets this for that video that surfaced, that TMZ got their hands on, where he was shown inebriated saying racial slurs. So we'll be updating you on this story if we have any more information. But in the meantime, let's go to commercial. See you back here in 2 minutes. All right, everybody, this is Andrew Kraft. We're coming up at 5 p.m. here. It's a little bit to 5. We're going to keep in the genre, though, of these stories where some of these people have been caught on video and on camera saying some terrible things. And we're going to go out now. I believe this is in Miami. At the moment, we're getting this story today that a former employee of the Miami-Dade Police Department was caught on camera unleashing an abusive anti-Semitic rant during a parking dispute in Boca Raton, Florida. This was on January the 30th. The footage posted yesterday by StopAntisemitism.org shows the woman screaming at an SUV in a parking lot outside a restaurant. The woman yells, "Move your effing car." She's wearing a Miami-Dade police homicide jacket. She says, "Just because you're Jewish and a Democrat doesn't give you the right to stay there." The woman has been named by local media as Leslie Sokoloff, a former transcriptionist for the Miami-Dade Police Department's Homicide Division. In a tweet responding to the video, Miami-Dade Police said the woman in the video was a retired civilian employee for the Miami-Dade Police Department. And they said this hateful speech is appalling and does not represent the values of the MDPD. Records published by the media show that she was arrested at the location where the video was recorded on Saturday night. The 64-year-old was charged with DUI and disorderly intoxication after she allegedly rammed her Prius into this SUV here. Interestingly enough, the charge sheet lists her religion as Jewish. So we're following that story here on NewsNOW as well. Just a string of 2 stories where, unfortunately, these people have been caught on video doing some really terrible and saying some really terrible things. So in the meantime, we do have some beautiful shots that we just want to show you across the country here. Here's one. My colleague, Daytona Everett, is going to let me know where these are. All right, this is the capital of Illinois, Springfield. There you can see the state capitol dome there in the distance. Central Time in Springfield. Beautiful sunset as well. I've never been to this city myself, but we also have a beautiful shot of New Orleans, Louisiana. As the cargo tankers slowly move down the channel there under this bridge here. So we're going to leave you with that shot at the moment. I'm going to go to commercial. We have a lot of great content coming up for you in the next hour or so here on NewsNOW from Fox. All right, we're going to take it out of New Orleans right now and just take a look at what's happening on the House floor at the moment. We've been learning that just a matter of minutes ago, the House voted to give Democrats the rule to vote on the budget relief package by what's called reconciliation, meaning they'll only need a simple majority to vote in the House on that measure once it's brought in the House. We don't know when that's going to be yet, but remember, that's been the battle that's been brewing. Can House Democrats use budget reconciliation to quickly jam through the next round of COVID relief? Our sister station in Tampa, Fox 13, is going to give us a daily update on what's been happening in Washington right now.
Of progress on another COVID relief package. Political editor Craig Patrick joining us now to catch us up to speed. What's going on today, Craig?
Well, yeah, we've got a lot going on, Chris. First, Senate leaders finally struck a deal on sharing power. That should speed things along. Meanwhile, the president and Senate Republicans, well, technically, they're still $1.3 trillion apart in a pandemic relief bill. Big difference, but there are signs of movement. The president's indicated that he is now willing to move. And on that point, it looks as if he will have to move because we now know he does not, at this time, have the votes for his current plan to pass. On Tuesday night, Democrats thought they could pass the president's pandemic relief plan without a single Republican vote.
We are not going to dilute this.
But to pull that off, they would need all 50 Democrats in the Senate to support the president's plan. And one Democratic senator, West Virginia's Joe Manchin, was not locked in.
It has to make sense.
And then on Wednesday, Manchin balked at part of Biden's plan. He said he would not go along with raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. That will effectively tank the effort in Congress to raise the federal minimum wage. And it will likely mean both sides will have to give on other points of the plan.
My friends on the other side are going to have input, and we're going to do something that we agree on.
To that end, the president said he's willing to scale back the number of direct payments or stimulus checks to taxpayers. He said he still wants to give individuals $1,400 instead of the $1,000 that Republicans suggest. But he's willing to reel in eligibility, meaning only people with comparatively lower incomes may qualify. Biden also said he's willing to move on other points of his proposal. Meanwhile, the House is dealing with a growing controversy over Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. Her social media account shows she's embraced calls for deadly violence, suggested the 9/11 attack and mass school shootings were staged, and suggested wildfires are caused by a corporate conglomerate shooting space beams into the woods. Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell called such claims loony lies and a cancer on the Republican Party. And Democrats say they'll kick her off of her committees if Republican leaders don't remove her themselves. And by the way, she serves on a House budget panel as well as the House Education Committee and Labor Committee as well. So we're approaching a deadline Democratic leadership has set for tomorrow. If, in fact, they do not at that point, Republican leaders remove her from those committees, they will take it to a full vote on the House floor and try to remove her that way. Republicans are concerned, as are others, that it could set up a slippery slope if you're doing it with this congresswoman when others come along who have said controversial things, though maybe not in line with what we're talking about here. Could others be expelled? And they're concerned about the domino effect that could have over the course of time. This will resolve likely one way or the other, Chris, perhaps by this time tomorrow.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that. Let's move to another Washington controversy, Craig. The White House press secretary taking some heat for her remarks about Space Force. What did she say? What's the controversy?
Well, she was dismissive and flip in how she addressed a question about Space Force, and that generated a lot of pushback. And with that, the White House indicated that it's willing to learn more about Space Force, and General Raymond, who leads it, said that he will in fact take them up on that. So the issue here is that there is a perception of some that this is some attempt to militarize space, create some kind of Starfleet, United Federation of Planets, but it's not like that at all. These are people who stay on the ground to monitor GPS, military GPS systems, and our missile defenses as well, something that had strong bipartisan support before it was enacted under the Trump administration. So leadership is saying that they have a messaging issue, and it's something they'll continue to work on.
Yeah, we wonder if the Biden administration will take this Space Force, keep the same idea and reshape it or repackage it somehow. All right, Craig Patrick live for us with the latest on all the developments in D.C. Thank you, Craig. And let's keep it in Washington.
All right, we're just back now on the House floor. We've been following the story for the past few days.